See, I'm new to this. So I owned a home care business for 11 years and also had some personal journeys with family members. I unfortunately lost my father during COVID after a brain bleeds and being in the hospital. And in working with families, I found out that often people really don't know a lot about caring for others until they really need it. And then you're on Dr. Internet trying to figure out the answers. So I'm trying to create a library of recordings, answering questions, and getting out in the public and bringing professionals to people so that you can get your questions answered from people that are local, people that you get to meet, know, and you feel like you trust them. So that's the reason for Resource for Care. And these professionals are just a handful of some of those that over the years I've gotten to know and trust. And I'm just going to have them introduce themselves. And while they're doing that, I'll hand out just a little flyer with our pictures on it so you can connect our names with, because I don't know about you, I don't have a good memory. So this way you have a picture of them with their name below it, and that way if you have a specific question, you can ask them. Why don't we start with you, Chris? You don't have to.
Okay.
It's casual.
Stand up. Good evening. My name is Chris Knudsen, and I work for the Bailey Law Firm. Our law firm handles three things: estate planning, elder law, and probate. So sometimes people say, well, what's the difference between estate planning and elder law? So estate planning is what happens when I pass away. Elder law is what happens if I live. How am I going to pay for that? What does that look like for me? Who do I want to handle? Perhaps even me or my things if I become incapacitated. So elder law is the practice of our business that I focus on. I'm a paralegal and I'm a certified senior advisor.
I'm Donna Roach. I am the director of Hearthside Senior Living. We're an assisted living community in Bartlett and in Collierville. And for those of you who don't know really the difference in the levels of care, we're assisted living. So you're relatively still independent, but you just need a little bit of help. You don't want to cook anymore. You don't want to clean, because we do that for you. Help you get up, get to the shower, that sort of thing. So as far as levels of care, we are the assisted living side of it.
My name is Janelle Holloway, and I own two businesses. I'm here in the capacity tonight of Mid-South Home Helpers. And my business partner is Mr. Tim Flesner over here. You'll see his picture in the flyer. We actually bought the company from Mary Lou a year ago. So we've kind of taken over what she had established as her legacy, and we are very honored to be able to do that. I do also do insurance, Eagle Hollow Enterprises, which I think is what my name is on the flyer. But I help people with Medicare. I help people with other options that they need in order to have a means to pay for that in-home care or pay for other things that are directed at us as we age. Here tonight, we help people be able to stay in their home longer. If you need help but you don't want to move out of your home, there are ways for us to be able to help you with that through providing care and assistance. We provide caregivers who come at the schedule that you guys set. We can help with transportation. We can help with cleaning. We can help with the daily living activities, such as bathing, all that kind of stuff. We'll help with laundry and light housekeeping, as well as meal prepping. And we're just here to be that extra pair of hands that your family may need to help make sure you stay safe.
And my name is Tanya Wales. I am a licensed social worker, and my whole career has been spent in what we call post-acute, so the medical side of care outside of the hospital. So with home health and hospice and palliative care. And so, and I started my career in nursing homes. So I've got that little bit to draw upon, but primarily what my career has focused on is in-home care with hospice, home health, or palliative care.
Okay. So, we're here tonight not to really sell our businesses. I just had everybody kind of explain what they do so you get a sense of who we are. But what we really want to do is really answer any questions. If you have situations either for yourself or friends or other family members that you're coming into, as we age, we want to be able to answer those questions. So I'm going to start off with anybody on the panel that might have a situation where they've helped a client recently, where they've come to you. Maybe they came to be in your place or had a question that you were able to answer. Does anybody want to share one of the issues that we've tried to help solve? Does anybody have a story?
I will.
Okay.
So a lot of people typically may start with the in-home care because that's their desire to stay at home. We had a couple recently coming home from Thanksgiving who had a car accident, and it caused them to be injured severely, and fortunately they lived through that. But now that they passed through rehab, they needed more help at home. The family doesn't live close, but they didn't want to go someplace else to have care. So we were able to work out a schedule with them and provide that extra pair of hands that they needed. And as her husband came home from the rehab, she was already at home, but she still couldn't do the care that he needed, and she needed help herself. We were able to be the hand that kept them going so that they could stay at home. They didn't have to sell their home. They didn't have to figure out what else to do. They didn't have to move where their kids were because of the alternative. We provide help with bathing. We provide help with getting them to the doctor. We provide help with making sure they have food that they need to eat and that it's prepared if they need our help with that. And we have also just kind of helped keep their household going so that we've given them peace of mind and we've made their life easier.
I recently had a friend whose husband had an accident, and she couldn't work. He couldn't work, and she had to take care of him. He went into the hospital, and of course they're always looking to, get you out of the hospital as soon as your insurance stops paying. And so that's really what was happening to him. And she's like, okay, mom has dementia, and I'm trying to get her moved in with me and my husband. And my husband just had a little bit of an accident, and he's coming home, and he can't 100% take care of himself. And if I'm taking care of mom, and I'm taking care of my husband, who's gonna be working and making an income? So I did call in, a few professionals. Tanya was one of them, I think I called. I can't remember, I don't think I talked to you, Donna. But, there's a bunch of professionals we all know that when we have a situation like that, we can call and say, who do you know? How can I help this person? What resources are available? And we always say, right, that if you know one of us, you know us all, because it's it really is a network of, how many years have you been in senior care?
13.
Donna?
30.
I've been in about 12.
I've been in it 7.
30. So this is just several of us.
I'll claim to be the youngest, is that okay?
So, does anybody have any questions about hospice or hospitalization or being, making choices about where to live, what to do next? You have a really experienced senior advisor over here as well. Anybody brave enough to ask a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Okay, my daughter's beginning to think when she's out of town, I might need somebody, and I tell her I don't, but anyway. I wouldn't need anyone to like do a lot of work, I mean, you know, I'm pretty self-sufficient. But she would like somebody just maybe to come in and check on me and, just be sure I'm okay. And do y'all stay the night too, or just stay? Stay the night and day?
We do wellness checks. We also have a monitoring device that's called the Hub, and it allows us to help make sure that families are safe in their home if they would like that. The family is an app that you can put on their phone, and they can actually check. I have this for my mom. My husband died 2 years ago of cancer, so I've been a caregiver for a long time. And my stepfather died this past July. And so now it's just mom and me, and we are trying to let her be as independent as possible. So the monitoring device has been really helpful because she's prone to falling, and it's been very helpful for me to know without having to call her and wake her up that she's up and she's moving. I can tell what's going on. And we also, Mid-South Home Helpers also does wellness check, where we check and make sure, remind you to take your medication, check to make sure you got in for the night and that you locked the door, or whatever specific task that you need us to help you with.
And to, just because I owned the company before she owned it, we do stay overnight as well. So if people are out of town for an extended period and the days are fine, but the nights may not be, because a lot of times people get up in the middle of the night to get the urge to go to the bathroom, and that's when they fall, usually, often, not usually, but often. So having someone there. The monitoring thing's a great thing because it's not a camera. It actually senses motion. So it's not like you're on film all the time, which a lot of seniors are like,
Right.
Yeah.
So I can actually tell that my mom got up and moved to the living room, or that she moved from the living room to the bathroom or to the bedroom, but I can't tell what she got on. I don't know if she's getting ready to go out somewhere, except for movement from the living room, the kitchen to the bedroom.
So what it does is it creates peace of mind for the family members because they can see whether mom is up or dad is up at their usual time, or why are they sleeping in an extra 2 hours? Maybe I should call. Tim?
Can I ask your name?
Peggy Black.
Hey, Miss Peggy. So maybe one thing, what I heard you say is your daughter is saying, well, I need some assistance. You think I'm fine, right?
Yeah,
This-
I mean, I'm real self-sufficient, I drive and everything.
Yeah, that's
But
awesome.
My grandson, it's just my daughter and myself, and my grandson's in Baltimore, so she's got a lot of travel miles, so she goes pretty often.
Yeah.
And I don't mind, I do a lot of stuff, and when she's gone, I'm real active, but.
Yeah. We have that chance. Well, I was just gonna say, if you want some more information about this, because this actually sounds like a perfect compromise. It's something that is offered.
Yeah, y'all have phone numbers or anything?
Yes, we
Yeah.
have that, and so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then one thing too, with another thing in regards to this directly, the hub. So it will actually can be utilized to, we've had another franchise that has actually been able to detect an infection, a UTI infection with their loved one. Because they noticed that there was up and down activity during the night. And so when you have that kind of activity, they said, well, let's get the doctor to check it out. And say they were able to get in front of, having a potential problem with the UTI. They got in front of it, was able to give antibiotics. So it kind of serves a dual purpose.
Okay. I probably wouldn't need anything except maybe somebody checking on me.
Sure.
But I'll take the phone number for her.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a flyer.
We'll have brochures. We'll afterward just come up or we'll come to you and give you some. Any other situations? Does anybody have a circumstance that they'd like to share? No?
Mary, I can.
You're gonna give an example? Yeah.
So I shared with you all that I work in home health, hospice, and palliative care. I'm the executive director of Baptist Trinity. And I will tell you that I figure it's an opportunity to share so that we can all leave informed. And I think sometimes there's misconceptions or misinformation around what is hospice. And let's all face it, everyone in this room, we probably hear the word hospice and we immediately think it's the end. And while there is truth in that at times, it's not designed for hospice to be a final hours thing. It's actually intended to be where you can have these healthcare professionals come along at the end of life and on that journey. And that journey could be 6 months. It might be even longer. We don't always know. And I share that because I cannot tell you how many phone calls I get that the family, or I make to a family, and they come back to me with, Mom's not gonna die tomorrow, or my spouse, and I say, oh no, and that's not the intent of my call, but our physician, your physician, is saying that we might be on that journey. And so that was one thing I wanted to share. And as I said, Medicare intends for it to be a journey. They want us to kind of be on that journey as our patients are experiencing new symptoms, new declines, so we can help them through the journey. One other thing, and I'm going to tangent just a little bit, and that there's another level of care that is not as commonly known about, called palliative care. And I do have flyers for both. Palliative care is a level of care that is generally covered by most commercial insurances, as well as Medicare and Medicaid. And it's a symptom management program. So it's for individuals who have some sort of symptom that needs to be managed. That symptom could be something like pain because of a cancer. But it also could be something like someone who's going for dialysis and taking care of kidney disease. Well, where with hospice you see someone who has foregone treatment and maybe at this point is not going to be able to take treatment anymore and just wants to be kept comfortable. With palliative care, you can continue treatment and have a nurse practitioner making an in-home visit to check in on you. And possibly even social workers as well, who can help then plug you into needed resources. I share this because this is a group, you can go back and you can share it with others. But palliative care is not something that's really commonly known about. We have palliative care at Baptist, Methodist has a palliative care program, and there are 2 others that I know of in Memphis as well. So it's something good to know about. And again, you don't have to forego treatment, it's in addition to, and they come along. You can have home health and palliative care together, for example. You could continue cancer treatment and have palliative care.
Does anybody feel qualified to talk a little bit about what's covered by like Medicaid versus Medicare?
Yeah, I can.
Would you like to hear that?
So let's talk about the difference first. Medicare, Medicaid, sometimes people talk about them interchangeably, and they're significantly different. So healthcare and healthcare insurance. There's healthcare insurance, and it can be Medicaid healthcare insurance. Medicare is healthcare insurance. So when we start talking about long-term care, like nursing home care, or hospice care, things like that, those are specifically different than healthcare. So Medicaid does have, Medicare is your healthcare insurance that you get after age 65 or whatever the age is that you qualify for. That's Medicare. That covers your hospitalization, your doctor's visits, and other things that relate to your health. Medicaid can be health insurance like that. If you are an impoverished person, you can have Medicaid as a health care. But normally, when we start aging, when we're talking about Medicaid coverage, we're talking about the state-funded health care coverage for people in nursing homes or who qualify for nursing home care but are choosing to have their care at home. That is long-term care under Medicaid. So Medicaid does, you have to qualify financially, and you have to qualify medically to be on long-term care Medicaid in a nursing home. And that is what's very different about the two, between Medicare and Medicaid. And Medicaid will cover nursing home room and board. So basically, it's like this. If you go to the hospital and you have an event and that lands you in the hospital, you leave the hospital normally, and we would go to what they call a skilled nursing home or a rehabilitation place. They are the same thing, a skilled nursing home, rehab, where you'll go and get rehab under Medicare. So Medicare pays for 100% of the first, this is traditional Medicare. I know everybody has, combinations of stuff, but traditional Medicare pays for 100% of the first 20 days that you're in rehab. You fell and broke your hip, you're at the hospital discharged you to a skilled nursing home. The skilled nursing home is going to do your rehab. Medicare is going to pay for 100% of the first 20 days. Starting at day 21, regular Medicare will continue to pay up to 100 days if Medicare approves that if you can prove that you're making progress, Medicare will continue to approve rehab. But there is a $204 a day copay that Medicare does not cover of your rehab from day 21 to day 100. Now, if you have secondary insurance or supplemental insurance, sometimes that would be picked up, at least in part or in whole, by your secondary insurance. If you have TRICARE from the VA, then TRICARE usually pays a lot more, or all, of that $204 a day supplement, copay. But after up to 100 days of rehab, Medicare does not pay for long-term care. So if you have your rehab completed and they recommend that you stay long-term in a nursing home, Medicare does not cover that. Now, if you are under hospice, Medicare will cover hospice. I'm getting kind of into Tanya's territory. Medicare will cover hospice services, but still not room and board. So a nursing home long-term will cost anywhere between $8,500 to $13,000 a month to live in a nursing home. And so you can pay private pay for a certain length of time until your money is gone. And then you can financially qualify for Medicaid. And if you qualify for Medicaid to pay for your nursing home bill, then your income goes to the nursing home and Medicaid pays the remainder. That's not Medicaid health insurance, that's Medicare for long-term care. Is that helpful? Okay.
Let me tell you. And to tell y'all too, also, assisted living, independent living, assisted living is not covered under any of that, Medicare or Medicaid. So if you're going to think about, like you said your daughter wants somebody to come and check on you, but if you were at the point that you wanted to actually move to an assisted living facility, Medicare and Medicaid do not pay for that at all. So, but some people do have long-term care insurance that they've been paying on for 40, 50 years or whatever. That some pay the whole rent, because I have several in my building that have that. Some pay the entire cost of the rent, and some pay just part of it, and then they pay the other part. But one of the things you really need to think about, if you are considering any kind of move to an assisted living facility, make sure you're getting the facility that fits your needs, because you guys look pretty independent, not a problem there. But if you've got someone who is, they're up and moving and walking and talking and everything, but they have dementia or Alzheimer's, and they have a tendency to maybe wander away, they would need a different kind of facility, like a memory care. They would need something like that, because those facilities keep them confined to that area and they can't walk out of the building and hurt themselves. So you need to really understand not just where your money goes, but what type of facility you would need. But Medicare and Medicaid do not pay for any of the assisted living or the memory care facilities. So there are other things though, and Chris can tell you there are VA benefits. If you qualify, she can help you with that. She can answer your questions on that. She has helped some of the folks in my facility to get benefits going for the VA, from the VA. So there's ways that you can look at things and look to see if you have. I had one lady had no clue she had long-term care, and she got to looking at paperwork after her husband passed away. They had long-term care insurance. So she could move in, and it actually paid for all but like $200 of her rent. So when you're thinking about your future, where you're going to go, if you're going to be able to move to a facility or not, if you come and talk to me and you tell me, okay, I've sold my house, I have $200,000, and I think that'll last. No, it won't. But I try to find other ways, like sitters, you know, home care, that sort of thing. You don't necessarily need to move to a facility. You're able to take care of yourself, but you just need a little help. I try to find you alternative ways. So it's not always about moving somewhere. It's what is the best way to take care of you for the rest of your life, and use your money wisely while you're doing that, because that's very important. And I don't know, y'all can help with that advice as well.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Long-term care planning.
Yeah, that's something that you would either consult somebody like her, if you have a financial planner, you know, already helping you with things. But it's very important that you know what your insurance pays for, what kind of insurance you do have, and if there's any available benefits out there for you, which Chris is like the guru for that. She really is.
I just wanted to add, oh yeah,
When does your long-term policy go into effect, or
Ooh, that's a
to
good
what
question.
extent does it go into effect? If you're, okay, say I go into a home, it won't do anything unless I'm sick or something?
There's an assessment that will be done by your long-term care insurance, and they either send a nurse to talk to you, like in our facility, they'll send a nurse to come out, or we'll do it on a conference call on the computer, and they want to see the assistance that you need. And most of them have 2 things that you have to meet. Some of them have 3. So let's say you can take a shower, you can bathe yourself, but you want somebody there to make sure you don't fall. That's supervised, and that counts. And you can't cook for yourself anymore because you just can't. You can't stand at the stove and cook or whatever. That counts because we're cooking your food. So there is an assessment to meet the qualifications to start using your long-term care insurance. And most folks, when they're moving in a facility, they pretty much will meet those 2 to 3 qualifications. And then it kicks in. Usually like 90 days later, it'll kick in.
yeah, the policies are different, but there's usually a deductible, which is called an elimination period. And that's a period where even though you have long-term care insurance, you need to get through that elimination period before the policy will start. So I like to say that because in the 11 years I've been doing this, there's creative ways to start that and begin getting through that elimination period, because some of the policies say that it's 180 care days. So think about it, there's only 365 days in a year, right? 180 care days is quite a long time, especially if you don't have someone coming on a regular basis. If you have someone coming once a week, that's only 52 care days, and a whole year's gone by, and your policy still hasn't kicked in. So it's really important to pull that policy out, look at the elimination period, look at the activities of daily life that Donna was mentioning that determine whether you qualify or not.
Yeah, and just to add to that, if you are in a facility like mine, an assisted living, and for some reason, let's say you fall and you need to go to the hospital, they only pay for the days that you're actually in the facility. So if you went to the hospital, and like Chris said, they send you to a nursing home to do your rehab, your physical therapy, those days will not be paid by your long-term care because you're not actually, they only pay for the days you're actually in the facility. Not if you go home at Christmas and spend 2 days with your family, that's okay. They're talking about days that you're actually gone from care from us, like in the hospital setting. And those are days that you would be responsible for paying for.
So it's great to have, because as Chris mentioned, how much it really subsidized or whoever did, subsidize your cost of staying or getting, it even covers home care. And that's a big deal, but there's limitations, and it's really important to pull that policy out. I know when I had home helpers, we would try to increase the number of times we would come, but keep the number of hours short so that you can get through the elimination period quicker with less money out of your pocket, if that makes sense. If you
So,
get my...
honestly, as a suggestion to you, know what your insurance covers.
Yeah.
Have somebody look at it, ask one of these professionals to
Yeah,
take
Chris,
a look and
look at it.
review it. Know what it covers and know, because you don't want to come into an emergency and then not know what's gonna be covered. So, always know what's covered.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about the elimination period, and
Oh,
she
sorry.
kinda covered that already. I do sell long-term care, I do sell a lot of these other ancillary products, I'm not here to sell tonight, but you need to know. And if you need somebody to review your policy and you don't know the person who you bought it from, if they're not available anymore, maybe they got out of the business, or they moved away or whatever, call another professional.
One of us,
We'll be glad to help you. All of us are familiar with the insurance. And there are, even though you may not have long-term care now and it's too late to get long-term care, there are a few other products out there that might make sense for you, that will go along with helping you be able to extend the 20 days that you're in the nursing home and help cover that $203 or $204 a day coverage for not a lot of money. You just have to ask or see an agent about that. Usually that's an insurance agent that can help you with that. We'll be glad to refer you to whoever you'd like to if your agent's not available anymore. And I also wanted to talk about the hospice care. My husband was on hospice, and it was wonderful because even though they did not come and stay more than an hour or so at a time, they did provide, as he got progressively worse, they did provide an attendant, an aide that would come twice a week and help with bathing. So that's one option, but in-home care can also work with that. We work with hospice to help bridge the gap between what they do cover and what they don't. My stepdad was on palliative care. He was on palliative care for a number of years, and that was decided upon because he kept going to the emergency room, and it really was for the same problem instead of depending on his primary care doctor. So his primary care doctor put him on palliative care, which gave another set of eyes, another contact person who could be in and out of the house to check on him and that he could call instead of going to the emergency room. So think about those things as you look at your future and what you want your future to look like. How do you want to age and how do you want to age? Do you want to age at home? Do you want to age at a place where you know you can get help, like where Donna's agency is? There are all kinds of options. It's just a matter of educating yourself and finding out what it is that best suits you and your family need.
I have another question about long-term care. I had it through Banker's Life for a long, long time. Well, they kept going up. So finally, I just dropped it. And they said, well, you have so many thousands on file to use. And I'd never heard of that, and I haven't contacted them lately. But is that true? They haven't?
Yeah, I mean, they can't take away something that you paid into,
Yeah.
but they can stop, you know, the benefit and give you less than what you purchased originally because you stopped paying into it.
Yeah. They kept going up, but anyway, they said I have quite a bit in there.
Yeah.
But, so, would they hire their own people, or could I hire?
You can pick whoever you want.
Oh, you can?
They are not in the business of supplying care. What they're in the business is to pay out a policy.
Oh, okay.
That's all they are as an insurance company.
You may talk about though I-9 and it being a business.
Yeah, so one of the things in the your policy is going to be that the agency needs to be a licensed agency. So you can't hire Mary Jones down the street to be your caregiver and get the policy to pay.
So they'd have to approve who I would have.
That's correct. And
They'd be a
so
licensed person?
I've been usually through an agency,
Okay.
because they are not gonna put all their eggs in one basket with one person. So typically, as a home care agency, I would have to also be vetted by them, just like you are. Are you qualifying for the benefit? And are you a home care business that has qualified caregivers. Are you licensed? You know, that whole thing.
So she can't take care, you can't do it
No.
for her.
You can, you just can't get paid. From your policy. I have had situations where a non-family member can be hired by a home care agency.
Well, this is Banger's Life, and I'll have to.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that a sister-in-law, a daughter-in-law can be hired by a home care agency to take care of that person, but they have to go through all of the training and everything that the home care agency does.
So I could just hire my daughter, huh? She's trying.
Well, you have to read your policy. It may not be blood relative. It might have to be, a step away. But I have done that. I have hired family members and put them through our training, and they have to go through all our policies and procedures and be certified as a caregiver. But instead of them taking time off their job and not having an income, they have at least some of the income coming back to them.
I will tell you that there are many people who will tell you that they provide in-home care. There are many individuals who will tell you that they provide in-home care. You take considerable risk if you hire an individual. And I'm not in that business, but I'm telling you as a social worker, if you hire a neighbor 2 doors down and you pull them into your home, they are not licensed, they are not bonded, they do not have liability insurance. So if they get hurt transferring you into the shower, guess whose homeowner's insurance then it can fall under? So I say all that not as a fear monger, but to say there's a reason that you want to use an agency. In the state of Tennessee, not all states, in fact, Mississippi does not have licensure.
That's correct.
And Arkansas does not have licensure, right?
I think they do.
Okay, Mississippi does not have licensure.
Yeah.
Tennessee has licensure. What that means is that if I want to be a caregiving agency, like our friends here, that I can go through a licensing process with the state of Tennessee. I have to make sure that I have the liability insurance. I have to make sure that I am vetting all of my new hires, that I am checking the background registries to make sure they're not on the abuse registry, that they don't have a criminal background check. And so those are the reasons you want to use an agency, because it puts a safety net around you and your home and your valuables. Is it perfect? No, because we are dealing with people. Unfortunately, right? We're dealing with sinners. but using an agency then also allows you to use your long-term care benefit.
Can I say something while we're on this topic? Okay, so there is an option for you to hire your daughter under the veteran. Okay, well, it happens a lot. Under veterans benefits. The kind of veterans benefits I'm talking about are not service-connected veteran, where they're on disability compensation. There is an improved pension for veterans who served at least 1 day of active duty. And they're not injured from the wartime period, but they are a veteran, okay? There are benefits out there for people like that. And one of the options that is great for VA benefits is you can actually set up a contract with a family member, not the spouse, but a family member who they can agree to take care of you, and you agree to pay them amount of money, and the VA does recognize that as an unreimbursed medical expense that they will reimburse. So if you have the option of veterans benefits, if you or your spouse had active duty service, there is a benefit out there for you to learn about, and that can help reimburse even a family member for care that they provide. So.
And that can make all the difference in the world, in the level of care that you're able to give.
One of the other things in talking about memory care, which is, we talked about as being the highest level of care, that's kind of a phrase that we give to that highest level of care, but it also means people who get to a point where they can't toilet by themselves or shower at all by themselves. That's a little bit beyond some, I don't know if it's at your community, but, you know, for example, my mother-in-law, she's in a assisted living right now, and they did need to put her in the highest level of care, because she was very dependent. So it could be cognitive, and it also could be physical challenges that put you in that, higher level of care. That was something new that I thought it was just cognitive memory care, but there's more to it than that. Learning curve.
What other question do you have?
Who has a question?
Are we doom and gloom? Do we, okay.
Can I say something in regards to what Tanya was saying? So, not only is it the benefit in regards to having a licensed agency that you're working with to take care of all your benefits for insurance, long-term care, those types of things, you also have the opportunity to have backup. If you hire an independent caregiver, they call you, life happens, right? So we have the potential to send somebody that could possibly back up. Because if you're expecting to go to a doctor's appointment, you don't drive yourself anymore, now you're not gonna be able to make it to your doctor's appointment. If you're with the licensed agency, then we can assist in finding a backup for that. And as owners of home helpers, we've actually taken the time to where if we can't find a caregiver and it's an urgent matter, we will go and sit with our clients. So it's, you know, because we understand you have things that you need to be taken care of, so we make sure that those happen. But that's the benefit of working with a licensed agency.
That's a good point.
And the other thing is the state does audit the
Yes.
agencies, and they have to pass or else they'll close them down, so.
So that, the banker's life that I was talking about, they would hire the agency, or I wouldn't have
No,
to approve
you
it?
would hire them. They would send out an evaluator or do it via Zoom or whatever to evaluate you,
All right.
to make sure you qualify for the benefit to be paid.
Okay.
But you would, might give you a list,
Yeah.
but you can pick anyone you want. You don't have to pick their, as long as it meets their criteria, which is being licensed.
Yeah.
And insured.
And they would pay her.
And they pay you directly. There's some insurance companies that'll accept a letter of, a form that'll allow the, insurance to pay directly to the home care agency instead of you, so that you don't have to turn around and write a check. But that's really by insurance, each one's different.
I'd like to share a little bit with you about one other option that none of us in this room ever wants to have to use, but I want to give you information, right? And that is, in Memphis, we have 2 facilities that are called hospice houses. Baptist has a hospice house behind Baptist Collierville, and Methodist has a hospice house not far from here on Quince. And, but both of them are very small facilities. Now you're probably looking at me going, that's not small, I've been in there. They're small, and what I mean is Methodist, for example, only has 15 beds. The Baptist hospice house, we have 24 beds. So those are relatively small, ladies, for facilities, right? And so the reason I share that, though, is it's a level of care that sometimes people don't even know is available. And what's so good about that level of care is if someone is fighting a battle of an end-stage disease, there's a place that you can go that the care is focused on end of life, and it's quite good. It's beautiful care, actually. And so it's not a nursing home, so it's a little different. It's a different atmosphere. Typically, they're run in a way that they want that room to feel like home. They want you to hang pictures on the walls. It's funny, you can walk down the hall of a hospice house at Christmas time, and they have their Christmas trees up in the rooms and those sorts of things. But we do have those 2 facilities in Memphis. Y'all, up until about 10 years ago, we had no hospice houses anywhere in this region. And next to those 2, the closest one is in Jonesboro, Arkansas. So only, 38 beds?
Wow.
In this whole
I
area.
never realized that.
I've lived the life that we're talking about. Between my husband was at Baptist Hospice House for 5 weeks before, in the last 5 weeks of his life, and It was a beautiful thing because I didn't have to worry about him. I could go and do my job, and then I could come in and out. His family, the other family members in town could come in and would stay with him while I was working, so that he would have somebody with him. But the last day, I'm sorry, I don't usually get emotional. The last day, they called me. I was on a Zoom call with some of the people in this room on this committee right now. And I very quietly said to Tim, I said, I have to go. They called me. And they were right there with us all day. He was so comfortable. And it was just the most beautiful thing. But the other thing that they do is for our veterans, and most people don't see this because you're not there, but when they leave the building, they go up and they stand up by the door and salute him as they leave. It's the most beautiful sight you've ever seen. But I'm gonna tell you, the hospice house saved my life because I was at a point where I could not keep moving. I was exhausted from being up with him all night, from trying to work during the day, take care of my book of business, take care of my client. And hospice house basically saved my life because I didn't have to worry about him. I could go in and out, be there whenever I wanted to, as late as I wanted to. And when I wasn't there, I didn't have to worry that he wasn't getting the level of care that I was wanting to have.
Sorry I went through that. So I think, yeah. So I think the message is, do some homework ahead of time. There's a document, I just actually ordered 10 of them. Tell me if you think this is a bad idea, but I ordered 10 of them to send to my family members for Valentine's Day. Because between my brother and my father and now my mother-in-law all having some challenges in the last 2 years, it's called the 5 Wishes. Has anybody ever heard of the 5 Wishes? Okay, it's a document that, I don't know, what would you just, it's not a legal.
It's absolutely a legal document.
It's a legal document.
I have hundreds of them, I didn't know you
Okay,
could.
well, I didn't,
It can be a legal document, depending on how it's executed. The 5 Wishes booklet, it's not just a healthcare assignment of a power of attorney for healthcare. It also goes through what your end-of-life wishes are. Specifically, I mean, from the hymns you want sung to what you want to wear. It's the 5 wishes of end-of-life. And if it is signed correctly, it's absolutely a legal and binding document.
It really gets you thinking about the questions and what your answer is, because everybody's journey is individual. And I just want, for my family, for them to think ahead of time, so that I know what their wishes are. So see Chris and get the copies that I didn't get. Because it's $5 a copy, so I made an investment. I ordered 10 of them, and I also ordered the companion thing so I can talk to people about it. So
there's no strange questions. So certainly there's some other thoughts you guys have. I mean, you've got professionals here to answer off-the-wall things that you've always wondered. Anything else you're concerned about, thinking about? Something you heard at the beauty shop? We call beauty shop barbershop law at our law firm because everybody knows everything, but
kind of like Dr. Google.
yeah, Dr.
Yes.
Google.
I know when I talk to my insurance client, we talk about the end of life, we talk about what the next step and how they best protect their families against the probate court and those kind of things. And so I'm sure there's some things in your mind that if you haven't met with an attorney and talked about that, you might want to ask those questions. Chris is definitely the most qualified person in the room to answer those questions.
please have a power of attorney. Please have a will. Right, Chris?
Power of attorney, for sure. Power of attorney, for sure. Everyone needs a power of attorney for healthcare and a power of attorney for finance. I'm sure you can hear me. Power of attorney for healthcare and power of attorney for finance. They are 2 separate documents. There's no reason to not have a power of attorney for healthcare because they are free online. 5 Wishes work. There's also one on the Tennessee website, free advance directive for healthcare. Power of attorney for finance is gonna be a little bit different, and it's very important that you complete it correctly. So we do recommend using a law firm, but if you think you know what you're doing, something's better than nothing, and have a financial power of attorney and a backup financial power of attorney that can handle things in the event that you cannot.
Well, I have a million questions to answer. I don't even got a million answers for me.
I have 1,000,001 answers for you, but last will and testaments are kind of, iffy, because yes, of course, a law firm, we will say you need a last will and testament, and then we're gonna tell you from a legal perspective how to not ever need to use it. Because you can avoid probate by having your finances set up a certain way where you don't have to use probate court. A last will and testament is for probate court. So if you intend to pass on your assets to your loved ones in a certain way through your last will and testament, that's the instrument you take to court to do that. So that does not avoid probate, yes.
I have a question. Does a financial advisor that you hire, when you do a rollover with your 401k or whatever, does that document surpass your will? Does it take the place of it?
Okay, I'm gonna see if I understand what you're saying. The beneficiaries that are designated on your 401, does that trump your will?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a great question, and that's a big picture of probate. So probate court, what probate court and your last will and testament will take care of is anything you own that is not jointly owned with someone else, or it does not already have a beneficiary. 401ks are gonna have a beneficiary. So you've got this pot over here that here are your assets, and your 401k has a beneficiary already designated. So when you pass away, it goes to that person. But maybe you have an annuity that your beneficiary was your spouse who predeceased you. So now there's nobody assigned as beneficiary. That's gonna go in the probate bucket. And then your last will and testament designates where that asset goes. Probably the same as your house. If you own a residence and you're the only name on that house, it's gonna go into the probate bucket. And then your last will and testament will decide where that goes. But if your checking account, savings account, 401, if it already has a beneficiary designated or it has a joint owner with someone else, that avoids probate. So that's a great question, and that's true.
I have a beneficiary, and then I have a contingent beneficiary in case my beneficiary passes before I do, then I've got
So
somebody.
that
My
passes-
will and that are both the same as far as beneficiary and
And that's how it should be, right. So then your 401, all those assets, those get handled separate. Nobody has to help with that. If you didn't have a beneficiary on something, though, that's when it goes through your last will and testament through probate.
And if I can say to that too, so I think, and she's the expert on all of that, but two things I want to say to that regards. Number one, know who is on all of your accounts and those types of things. Perfect scenario, my mother and stepdad lived in Elma, Arkansas. Excuse me. My stepfather passed away. So my mom started having some cognitive issues. And so she had her own bank account, went through her life savings in a matter of minimal time. And so that's why we're in the predicament we're in now, of me providing care for her. But so always know that, because you never know what's gonna happen tomorrow. I could, have a stroke leaving from here. So always know who's on your bank accounts and those types of things. And then the other thing I wanna say too is, because I can see sometimes we hear all of this and maybe stress you out just a little bit. Don't stress over it. That's what we're here for.
No.
That's the reason that Mary Lou started this.
Yes.
Like she said in the beginning, she has been in this industry, owned the business for 10 years, knew that, and learned it by trial by error, right? That's what we've learned in the past year. And so that's what she's helping, is to educate the community. So putting experts in front of you.
One of the things I wanted to stress to you guys is talking about your power of attorney is make it someone you trust. You've got a power of attorney for medical and a power of attorney for financial. And you need it to be someone you trust when it's the financial. I can't tell you how many times in my building, in my assisted living, that the family member that you thought was the one person you could trust above anybody else used all your money. So, also, I've got a lady right now in my building, she was in an independent facility, and the lady that was next door to her became her friend and realized that the lady in my building, she's in my building now, she moved from independent to assisted, had no family. She's from England, she had no family here at all. She realized that, she talked this lady into letting her be the POA. And I promise you, to this day, I really think this woman is using up her money. And I can't prove it, I have nothing short of hiring an attorney that I can't do for her. Be very careful, very careful who you choose. If it's a family member, please make sure it's somebody that you know you can trust. If it's not a family member, again, just be very, very safe, because your money can be gone in a second, and you think you got enough money to live in my building, and now you don't, because you were not able to see it. You were not able to pay. You didn't pay your bills. You didn't buy your stuff, and now it's gone. So be very, very, very careful about who you choose.
Were you trying to ask another question?
Do you want?
I thought you were
It's
trying
time
to.
for us to let them back.
Maybe it'll come back.
Oh, she mentioned about the POA.
Okay.
Chris, can you talk about trust versus probate?
We are running out of time, right?
Yes.
Oh, we are, okay.
All right, so before we say any more, I just want to let you know that we have other events coming up. So we have them up here. Every third Wednesday of the month, we have a health care topic do you guys know where the Clark Tower is? In the bottom floor of the Clark Tower, there's a school called Concord Career College, and Santa Chuck is a regular member. Every third Wednesday of the month, we have a health talk, and the next one's by Susan Croson. She's a geriatric consultant, and she's talking about end-of-life planning. The next one after that at the same location would be the third Wednesday of February, and it's by Daniel Lund of Village Audubon Park Community, and he's talking about living and loving your life's fourth quarter. He's used to be an activities coordinator, and now, I forget his title, Yeah, he's in marketing, but he's a director at Village Audubon. He'll be speaking. And then we have a free event happening February 24th at Donna's community up in Bartlett. And so I have flyers on that, and it's even a larger panel than today, and a different variety of professionals. And we have brochures up here too for you to take.
All righty. Thank you very much, folks, for coming and visiting with us tonight. And I hope you had got some information, that things got cleared up or whatever. If not, any of these